Welcome back to Growth Catalyst Sub. Welcome back. In today's episode, we are going to look at what recruiters look for in your resume, and therefore, keeping that in mind, what you should put, and more importantly, what you should not put. A lot of times, people think and craft their resume basis what they should put in, but very, very rarely people think about what should not be there in that resume to start with. Many times, when you think about what mistakes you should not do and keep that in mind, you are able to do a much better job. So let's jump in and see which mistakes to avoid and how to keep your resume in a manner that attracts recruiters' attention. First things first, let's start with first impressions. You may be wondering what is first impression about resume? Yes, there is. Just like people see what we look like and our dress before we even open our mouth to speak. Before your resume is even scanned, people look at how it looks. Okay, it's the first impression that your resume makes. Imagine yourself as a recruiter. Imagine somebody is sending their resume to you and you are taking and giving it a look. And also understand that typical resume is given a 8-9 seconds glance. Not more than that. The number of resumes which hit the recruiter is so high that any given recruiter gives any given resume a 8-second glance and not more than that. So the time that you have, the time that the resume has to impress the recruiter is very, very small. Coming back to what we started, imagine yourself to be a recruiter. Imagine you have only 8 seconds to look at the resume. What will you look at first? Think about it for a minute. You would look at overall how the resume looks. You would look at whether the resume is formatted very well. Formatting is the equivalent of a dress on the resume. Is it formatted very well? Is it having nice to look at? That's what you would look at, right? So that's what you should also do when you prepare your resume. It should be formatted very nicely. You should look very good when a recruiter takes it and takes a look at it first. That's the first impression equivalent. And that first impression will go a very long way in terms of impressing the recruiter to go further. Spend that extra 2 seconds just because it is formatted. It looks so very nice to look at it. But when it comes to formatting, what are the things that you should keep in mind? Let's see it. Coming to formatting, and formatting is a number one mistake that people do. Poor formatting is the cause for the reason for people, recruiters, not even giving another glance to your resume. So what is that you can do? Remember that the recruiter scans it for a few seconds. 8 seconds is the typical thumb rule that we all go by. So in that 8 seconds, how is it that you can give the best information, the most important information about you very, very quickly? That should be your objective. To that, what are the things that you need to do on the formatting? Simple. Stick to time-tested fonts. People try different fonts just because they're available on the computer, and it leads to very disastrous results. We are all used to reading things in certain fonts. Remember that most official writing, most official documents are written in certain fonts. People use Arial, people use Calibri, people use Times New Roman. And most often, these are the fonts which are used time and again. And hence, recruiters are used to reading things in a certain font. If you break that, you are taking a risk. Risk may pay off, but it is not worth something that you want to take. So avoid things like Comic Sans. It may look like fun, it is, but it's a serious affair that you are getting into when you are writing a resume. You want that resume to be noticed by the recruiter, and it should not be bypassed just because it is written in some funny font and the recruiter was too tired to even look at it. So the first point, first rule, stick to time-tested fonts. The second simple rule is ensure that your formatting looks very professional. Don't cram too much into that one page. My advice to most of the people would be keep it to single page. People don't have time, recruiters don't have time to go through many pages of your resume, however experienced you are. You may be just starting out, maybe a 15, 20 years professional. Keep it to a single page. If at all you have to cram more into that resume, go to second page. Please don't exceed 2 pages at any cost, irrespective of however experienced you are. Even if you are looking at your 30th year of experience, not worth putting the third page on your resume. Now, coming back to the formatting perspective, the temptation would be the more years of experience you have, the more information that you want to give out and cram everything into those 2 pages, 3 pages. Now that I have told you that you have to put everything into 2 pages, the temptation is to put everything into 2 pages. For God's sake, don't use 8 font, 6 font and all. Nobody is going to be able to be reading it. It should be readable. Okay, so keep it to 2 pages. Weed out all the information that is not relevant, but keep it to readable fonts. It should be something like a 12 font, which all of us are used to reading in official documents. So that's the point number 2. Point number 3 on formatting is give a 1 inch space all around the paper that you are trying to put the information on. So 1 inch from the top, 1 inch from the bottom, 1 inch from the right, 1 inch from the left. Put everything into it so that it looks nicely formatted. You should not be edge to edge of the paper. Remember that. The temptation would be to cram more. That is why I'm repeating. Don't put edge to edge. Give 1 inch spacing all around. The third point is that because the recruiter has only 8 seconds to glance at it, the information should leap out at the person and hence use bullet point formatting rather than writing stories. When you use bullet point formatting, you can also put more information, which is advantageous to you. Now let's take a look at some of the examples. Now let's look at a very badly formatted resume. You can see it on the screen. Very badly formatted, not clear. It's all over the place. All the things that you should not do or done on the resume. Clear example of how a resume should not be formatted. Is another example of a reasonably well formatted resume. You can look at it. It's nicely formatted, looks good to read, looks good to scan, and that is how you should be formatting your resume. Now, if you're not very comfortable formatting your resume, you are not very sure what to do, there are tons of resume formats available on the net. Every single career guiding site on the net gives you their own formats. Modern formats, elegant formats can go a long way in terms of helping you to ensure that your resume is formatted very well. So you can pick up any of those formats and start using it rather than developing something from the scratch on your. Yeah. So that's the first point that I wanted to make about formatting. And remember, formatting is like impressing people in your first meeting. It's very important to do that, give that great first impression, and go ahead and make that great first impression by simply ensuring that your resume looks very nice to look at. Formatting goes a long way in ensuring this, and that is why formatting is my first tip in terms of how to get that great look for your resume. The second mistake that people do, and one of the key reasons why a good looking resume still fails, is that it is a resume which doesn't fit the criteria of the recruiters. A lot of times I see people in a hurry to send as many resumes as possible to as many job descriptions, as many roles, as many advertisements as possible. It's such a waste of time. They think that if they send 100 applications, 100 resumes to 100 places, at least one or two might click. Looks like an interesting strategy, but fails utterly simply because in the hurry to send the resume, send application, people end up sending exactly same resumes to every single job possible. If you want to buy a red shirt and go to a store, and the store may be having all kinds of shirts, you still want to buy what shirt that you wanted to set out to buy. You're not going to buy anything else. Similarly, We are all in the job market, and each company wants specific criteria of skill sets, experience, education. They want the right combo to be there in their company. But if you don't tweak your resume to offer that right combo, which may be there in you, you may have the right skills, you may have the right education, you may have the right experience. But if you have not tailored your resume, if you have not spoken about it explicitly, people are not going to know about it. That is where the problem is. So, in the hurry to apply for as many jobs as possible, if you don't tweak your resume to the job description on hand, you may miss out, even though you have the right credentials with you. So take that extra 10 minutes, look at the job description, exactly what they want. And if they want a leadership experience and you have that experience, talk about it, give examples, quantify it, and illustrate it so that they get an understanding of, okay, this person, if this person comes to my company, how would that person be able to perform? They should be able to imagine that, they should be able to think about it, they should be able to visualize that, and your resume should enable that happen. That is where the success would come. But if you keep sending your same resume to every single job application, my friend, you have failed. So take that extra 10 minutes, look at exactly what the job description is talking about, what kind of skill sets that they're talking about. Have you covered all of those skill sets, all of those specific experiences in specific words with examples? Ensure that you have done that, then send it. You will see magic happening. Let's look at this resume. It looks very, very generic. You can see it on the screen. I'm putting up the job description. This is the job description, what the employer wants. And this is the resume, what the employee, the potential employee has sent out to the employer as a resume. You see that broadly it is there, but specific criteria that the job description is asking for is completely missed out, being illustrated, being called out in the resume. And that becomes a problem. Problem for two, three reasons. One big reason is that the recruiter is not going to spend time finding out how much of a fit you are. The fit should leap out of the resume. The recruiter has only 8 seconds, and therefore, in one glance, all of that critical information should leap out. And if you have not taken the time to tweak your resume, it is not going to leap out. You are going to miss the bus. And that is a problem. That is a mistake people do time and again. And hence, take that extra 10 minutes, look at the job description, go through each and every single sentence, each and every single word, each and every single requirement asked for in job description. Ensure that you tailor your resume for that. If you find your qualifications not meeting the requirement criteria, don't even apply. Don't waste your time. There are thousands of jobs available and you will get a job. Don't worry about it, but don't waste your time applying to a job where you are not a great qualified candidate. If you don't have the experience, if you don't have the qualifications, if you don't have the skill sets, why waste your time applying it? You're not going to win that race. So go to a place, apply for a job role where you are a great fit and ensure that your resume shows that great fit. That's most important thing when it comes to resumes. Secret number 3, and which also is mistake number 3 that people do carry out on their resume, is missing out on the keywords. What people don't realize many, many times is that even before the resume hits the human eye, even before the recruiter starts scanning, it goes through many times, it goes through a software, applicant tracking system, what is called popularly as ATS software. It scans the resume as a first scanning to ensure that whichever applications go to the recruiter are qualified applications. What do I mean by qualified applications? What do I mean by qualified resumes? Means that the software looks for match between the keywords mentioned, the skill sets, and therefore which are converted into keywords on the job description, what are all mentioned, whether they are there on the resume also in abundance. To give a crazy example, suppose the keyword mentioned is experience in digital marketing, but the resume does not have anything about digital marketing. Why should the recruiter even see it? It's a waste of time for the recruiter. So at the first go itself, the software will ensure that this resume goes to the bottom of the pile. It doesn't even rise on the top of the pile. So the recruiter may never even get time to even look at it. So that's what I mean by that. So typically what happens, the job description has a set of keywords. For example, if the job description talks about agile methodology and you in your resume talked about agile project management, in your mind, agile methodology is equal to agile project management, but the software doesn't know it. The ATS doesn't know it. It is actually looking for these two words, agile methodology. If these two words are not occurring in sequence with each other as agile methodology, you may not be even selected, even though you have plenty of experience in agile project management, which is same as agile methodology. Remember that the software is not having that AI, artificial intelligence to scan, not yet. It may happen tomorrow, it may happen in the future, but currently the software is not there. So you need to use very, very specific words which are used in the job description exactly as they are, as long as you have those skills with you. When you have the skills, go for it. Exactly reproduce the words which are used in the job description, because that is how the scanning software, the ATS software, is going to scan for in your resume. Give an example. I'm going to illustrate in this example. In this example, you will see on the left-hand side, the job description is asking for search engine optimization, while on the resume on the right-hand side, you will see that SEO is mentioned. In the mind of the applicant, SEO is search engine optimization, but the software may or may not know it. So don't take any risk. You may say SEO, but ensure that you also mention search engine optimization within brackets SEO to be doubly sure. Similarly, you will see that on the left-hand side of the application, you see data analytics is being mentioned. On the right-hand side, the resume mentions data analysis skills. This may look very similar to you, but again, the software may or may not know it. So don't take any risk. Ensure that you also use the word data analytics as it is asked for by the job description. Moving on to the next most critical mistake people do on their resume, experience. If you are the recruiter, imagine yourself as a company, head of a company, starting a company, you want to recruit people. What is it that you are looking for? Put yourself in the shoes of that person for a minute and think. You want to be able to see the qualities of the person so that you can visualize a person in your company and what the person can do. If you are looking for the head of marketing and I apply, and you are looking at my resume, I've said in my resume that I was part of marketing team and I helped grow marketing. What nonsense. Of course, if I'm going to be part of marketing, I would have helped to grow marketing. But what is it that I have done in marketing is what you want to know. What exactly did I do? And that information would help you to imagine, visualize what exactly I will be able to do when I come to your company. So that is exactly what people are looking for. You should be able to give a flavor of what is it having you like looks like. So the best way to do is to quantify your experience. If you were part of marketing and you grew the marketing, the sales through marketing efforts by 20% year on year for the last 3 years, say that. That's what people are looking for. So when you quantify your experience, so instead of saying I headed sales, I was part of sales, exactly saying I grew the sales by 20% last 3 years, year on year, that gives me a better flavor of what you're capable of. Then I can visualize, oh, this guy, the guy comes to my company, he would be able to grow the sales by 20%. Then I am enthused. Then I am interested in you as a candidate, not others. So ensure that you quantify whatever you put in as your experience, give a flavor of quantification. Remember that even in jobs which are not amenable to, directly amenable to like sales or marketing, which are easily quantifiable, there are jobs. It could be that you are in HR. What is it that you can quantify? It is, you may be there in training. You may have been there as part of a project delivery team, what is that you can quantify? So this is what I want you to remember. There are only two functions. There are only two functions in any company. It may look like a very radical idea. It's not a radical idea at all. What are the two functions in a company? One is directly influencing the growth or the revenue of the company. Let me repeat. You are directly in charge of or responsible for influencing the revenue of the company. You are in marketing, you are in sales, or any job related to it, and you are directly influencing the sales of the company. You can easily quantify those jobs. The second job is indirectly influencing the revenue or the profitability of the company. Okay. When you are not in charge of revenue or profit directly, you are responsible for it indirectly. Let me explain. Suppose you are in HR, you are responsible for training. What does the training do towards revenue, towards profit? Think about it. Unless you train people who are capable people who can deliver the revenue and the profit, the company cannot go forward. So that is the role that you are actually playing. So the role you are playing is not just training people, but training people so that the company can go up in revenue, go up in profits. When you are clear like this, then you can easily quantify whatever you are doing in terms of numbers. So you can say that I trained so many people who are responsible for company's growth, whatever the growth is, company profitability increase, whatever that profitability increase is. Then I can know that this is the role that you play in terms of company. Suppose you are legal. So legal ensures that the company profits are protected, company sales are protected, company doesn't get into any litigation. Even if it gets into litigation, it is protected very well. So again, the role from a broader perspective is to ensure that company's top line and the bottom line are protected. So when you think like this, you can link back your role to revenue. You can link back your role to profitability in every which way possible. So whatever people do are these two. In any company, only these two roles exist and different names are given so that the role is clarified in the mind of the person. But finally, the role is either to increase the revenue or to increase the profitability or to protect these two many times to protect these two while a set of people are directly in charge of increasing the revenue and increasing the profitability. But coming back to our topic, ensure that you call out without failing quantified numbers on what your role delivers. If you're training, how many people you have trained, what kind of streams you have trained, and how they are responsible for top line and bottom line. If you are in legal, how many cases you have handled, how many ways, in what all ways you have protected the company, and can you quantify what that protection means in terms of protecting revenue, how much of a revenue you would have protected, how much of a bottom line profits you would have protected. So think about in those lines and you will be able to quantify whatever you do in terms of these two numbers. Here is an example. For example, you may say that I was part of a project team which delivered 6 projects. One way of saying it. But the better way of saying it would be part of project team which delivered 6 projects, which resulted in efficiency increase of the company, which resulted in a saving equivalent to 20% of our profits. Now, when you link back the number of projects into what percentage savings would have occurred in terms of either the profits or the sales, people are able to get your role much better. And that's what I have been talking about in terms of quantifying, ensuring quantified achievements are talked about in your resume. Go ahead, do that. It will make a huge difference to the way your resume is seen and read. When it comes to education, people include every single degree, every single nuance of the degree that they have ever got. This is such a waste of time. Remember that we live in a times that people have only 8 seconds to glance at your resume. And more than that, you have only 2 page max, irrespective of the level of experience you have to prepare your resume. So you don't have to put which college you did, how did you, your first semester marks, second semester marks, all of that. Nobody is asking for. Just say which college, which degree, and postgraduate, what degree, which college. That's more than enough. The only exception that I would make is when you have got an exceptional record, maybe you have got a 10 out of 10 kind of GPA or 95% plus percentage marks. Maybe you can mention that because it allows you to tom about it. Otherwise, don't waste your time and space talking about the GPA, first semester, second semester. Nobody cares about it. Just two lines of what your degree is, what your college is, what your post graduation is, what your college is. It's more than good enough as long as you've got some experience behind it. If you're a fresher, then education becomes very important because that is the only thing that you can talk about. You don't yet have experience. You need to talk about the projects that you've done. You need to talk about your summer projects and so on. But the more and more experience you get under your belt, talk about and focus on those experiences rather than focusing on the education. Next comes the skill section. Many times I see people focusing on the technical skills, what is called as the hard skills, and not putting enough effort, not giving enough focus on the soft skills. People take the time and effort to talk about what are the certificates they've got in, let's say, Google Analytics or digital marketing or SEO or any of the hard skills that people pick up these days, which are all in demand, but not enough focus on the soft skills of communication, team building, leadership skills, or any of the other soft skills. It could be negotiation skills, it could be critical thinking skills, it could be whatever that is asked for by the company on the job description. Even though it is asked specifically, explicitly by the company, people are not taking the time and effort to illustrate what they have got, even when they have got. That's a sad thing. So, simple thumb rule: spend effort in terms of exemplifying, giving illustrations, quantifying, even and giving examples, even the soft skills. It's important. Don't leave them out. These days, people look for soft skills even more important, giving more important to the soft skills compared to even technical skills because technical skills are available in abundance and more AI can do almost all of the technical jobs which are out there. Coding, AI can do it. Any SEO, now the AI can do it. What the AI, at least now, at least till now, can't do are the soft skill area part, and that is becoming more and more and more important. So focus on that, get that right on your resume. The thing that you might want to think about is outdated skills. For example, I still see resumes having good in Microsoft Word, good in Microsoft PowerPoint. Give me a break here. They are basic skills now. They are required. If you don't know how to type in Word, you don't know how to prepare a PPT, probably you have no option but to learn them even before you come join any company. So they have become so basic that many job descriptions may not even talk about it. So you may go away feeling that they're not asking about it and therefore I don't have to mention it. You don't have to mention it, but you have to have those qualifications with you. You should not mention it. So that's the point I'm making. Some of these have become so basic that you are expected to have job roles, description may not even talk about it. And hence, you should also not talk about it, even though you should have those criteria. So don't put any of the outdated skill sets like Microsoft suite of skills or typing skills, for example, not required. You are expected to have those skills so that you can perform well in any office. So to summarize what we have been talking about, start with a good formatted, well-formatted resume. Avoid all the mistakes in the formatting. We have not talked about grammar mistakes. We have not talked about spelling mistakes. Please avoid all of those mistakes. Ensure your resume looks very nice to look at. Remember that they have only about 8 seconds to look at your resume. Keep it to 2 pages, not more than that. Ensure that good fonts are used. Spaces are given all around the resume so that it looks nice to look at, and use very well prepared standardized resume formats to prepare your resume. Ensure that none of the mistakes that we talked about in terms of calling out critical skills which are called out in the job description in your resume as well, and ensuring quantification of your skills, ensuring that your education gets only that much of an importance and not more than that, not talking about irrelevant experience, not talking about very, very old skills, which are assumed to be basic these days. All of that ensure so that your resume stands out. And when the resume stands out, recruiter would pick up your skill sets and you will stand a great chance of making that final interview. Wishing you all the very best for your resume to make that cut and take you into the next step. And we will meet in our next episode. Like and subscribe to the channel for more tips like this. See you in our next episode.